Snakes? Snakes. I don't know no snakes.
John Carpenter's Escape from New York.
Hey everyone, I'm John from Let's Talk, and today we're going to be talking about the 1981 classic directed by John Carpenter, Escape from New York, and its brand new Shout Factory 4K release. And guys, if you're interested in 4K movie, Blu-ray reviews, or film reviews, or gaming reviews, we do them all on this channel, so please make sure you hit subscribe and turn the notifications on. But without further ado, let's just dive right into this. So, Escape from New York came out in 1981, is directed by John Carpenter, written by him and Nick Castle, and it stars such greats as Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken, Donald Pleasence as the President of the United States, Harry Dean Stanton, Lee Van Cleef, and Isaac Hayes. So this is a stacked cast across the board, but how does this film hold up all these years later? So the basic plot of this movie is Donald Pleasence is the President of the United States, and he has just crashed into Manhattan Island, which has now been turned into a maximum security prison. Basically, this island is run by prisoners. The only guards line the newly built wall that lines the prison on the outside. That is it. So they have to send somebody in there to rescue the president so they can get him to his summit within 24 hours. Luckily for them, who just happens to arrive at the prison as a prisoner? Well, that would be none other than Kurt Russell's Snake Plissken. So, luckily for them, they get to send him in to go rescue the president. So, this movie is probably one of John Carpenter's most famous films. This is up there with the Halloweens and the Things. I don't think it reaches the levels of Halloween or the Thing, but it is still one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, probably in my top 5. You get all the classic John Carpenter things in here. You get some amazing character work, beautifully shot film. Even this movie came out in 1981. This movie is over 40 years old. It still looks beautiful. And the score, no matter what, John Carpenter, if he's involved in doing the score, which he did this one, is incredible. This is one of my favorite John Carpenter scores. This is right up there with The Thing and Halloween in that sense. And even They Live, which has another great score. So I just love this movie. I eat it up. I did a review on this channel for Escape from LA, which is another good movie. Not as good as this one, but this movie still stands the test of time. The practical effects do still hold up, despite there being some kind of minor issues. Like when you first see Air Force One, even now it still looks like, okay, it doesn't look that great. But again, you gotta go back and go, okay, this movie's from 1981. I understand why it doesn't look that great in certain aspects, but other aspects, using practical effects really helps with the aging process. I can talk about movies from 2002 that just look bad because they use CGI, whereas practical effects, yeah, they are still of their time, but I really think it helps to sell what they're trying to sell. Now, is this a perfect film? No, I don't think this is a perfect film. Some of the acting can be a little off. Harry Dean Stanton, who I love, he's in one of my favorite movies ever, Paris, Texas. He seems like, some points just really seem kind of phoned in, and that kind of hurts me to say, but even some other acting from some of the extras and everything does just seem a little bit off, and the wrestling scene towards the end just does not hold up. It seems extremely choreographed, and it's very hard to look past that. But this is still just a good, fun, kind of schlocky 80s film. You know, John Carpenter kind of made he was a really big fan of B movies, clearly, because this is kind of basically a B movie. It's got this over-the-top plot, but I just love a story like this where it's just something that's just so kind of original, especially for the 80s. Manhattan Island has been turned into a prison. Where do you come up with that concept? That's such an awesome concept, and I just really do enjoy the fun that they have walking the city and trying to save the president. Plus, this movie has built-in tension right from the beginning just because there's always a ticking clock. He's always looking at his watch, which has the time on it. So you always know you're always on a time limit, so you're just building that tension towards the end. And then the score really builds up those moments of tension so well. Also, I just want to note that Jamie Lee Curtis is also in this. She is the one doing the opening narration explaining how Manhattan Island is right now in the year 1997.
The rules are simple. Once you go in, you don't come out.
Another standout performance in this was Lee Van Cleef. He was so good in this movie. I actually forgot how good he was. He really plays this role perfectly. You really buy into him as the commissioner of the police. Actually, and also for anyone, another big John Carpenter stand-in from the movies like The Fog or Halloween 3, even though he doesn't direct it, Tom Atkins is in this movie. I love seeing Tom Atkins pop up in anything, so any Tom Atkins fans out there, he's in this one as well, so make sure you check that one out. And then some other little notes about this movie that I just truly love is Isaac Hayes. Hayes. Isaac Hayes' car in this movie with the 2 chandeliers hanging from the hood of the car, that is a car that I have always wanted. Some people want the Batmobile, some people want Echo One. I want Isaac Hayes' car from this movie. Those 2 chandeliers hanging from that hood of my... I wish I could do that to my Ultima. I don't think people would get it, but I still wish I could do that. It's just such a cool thing. And now let's talk about Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell in this film, he's the star. This is probably maybe his most famous role as Snake Plissken. He reprised this role in Escape from LA a few years, well, I guess it was 15 years later or 16 years later. He was born to play Snake Plissken, and the running gag of, I thought you were dead. And it's just, I mean, you know, he really carries himself. He doesn't do much dialogue, and I can see why some people would think that his dialogue delivery is pretty cheesy. Call me Snake. He's just, you know, doing that voice the whole time, but I'm a huge fan of that. This is not my favorite Kurt Russell movie. That still probably belongs to The Thing or Backdraft, or I'm also a fan of Overboard. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I'm just a big Kurt Russell fan. I'm pretty much, he has some incredible range. Like the fact that he could do this and Overboard and Big Trouble in Little China, that should just tell you the kind of actor that Kurt Russell is. And John Carpenter and Kurt Russell have one of the best relationships when it comes to films, because I don't think they ever missed, even on the what was it, 1979, when they worked together and did the Elvis made-for-TV movie. You know, Kurt Russell actually played Elvis again in another movie, so it's just a match made in heaven for the two of them, plus having Nick Castle, and like, you could just tell John Carpenter likes to work with his people, and they produce some of the greatest movies of the late 70s and all the way through the 80s. So if you're a fan of sci-fi, action, sci-fi horror, B movies, I would definitely say check out Escape from New York. But we're not here just to talk about Escape from New York as a film. We're here to talk about its brand new Shout Factory 4K release. So Shout Factory just released this brand new 4K of Escape from New York. Now it's got a nice new slipcover on it. I actually really do like the design. It's got kind of like a matte finish on it, then the disc is inside. It's a 3-disc set. You get a 4K, a Blu-ray, and then you get a Blu-ray with all the special features on it. There are a couple commentary tracks on both the 4K and the Blu-ray, and then you get a whole disc of special features with plenty on there. You know, talking about the special effects, which I did mention are pretty good for the time. You gotta remember it's 1981, so they're using a lot of miniatures and matte paintings, and it's just done so well, and they explain a lot of that in there. There's a lot of retrospects in there, and also one cool thing on there is the original opening of the movie, which shows Snake Plissken robbing a bank. It's a deleted scene, and I'm glad they cut it. I didn't want to see that. Sometimes you don't need to show everything. I just think that it's cool though. If you did want to see it, it is on this disc. And I just want to point out one thing about this 4K release. There was a 2018 release from Studio Canal that was a 4K release that wasn't released here in the US. But if you have that release, I don't think you need to run out and grab this. So say you live in the US and you have a region-free Blu-ray player. Well, then you're able to play that 4K. This is the exact same scan from that 2018 release. There's a minor difference in the sense that this release now has a Dolby Atmos track on it, which I actually have to admit is a phenomenal Dolby Atmos track. So if you're just that big of an audiophile where you can't live without having that Dolby Atmos track, because the other one I believe had a DTS HD master audio track, then I understand why you would run out and grab this, because it is a very good Atmos track. I did enjoy it. I really had a lot of bass at the perfect points when it came to, you know, certain aspects when the score is building up, especially early on in the movie where they're going through everything and Snake's looking at the table and the score is building. The bass really sells how important this is and building the tension, and I really don't think you get that without the Atmos track. So I really do think it was a beautiful Atmos track. And as far as visuals go, like I said, it's the same scan, so if you have that scan, you've already seen this, but for me, I haven't. I have a very old Blu-ray release of this. It was beautiful. The blacks were deep, the HDR 10, which is on this, and Dolby Vision all really helped pop how good the colors can be. It's a very dark movie. It's filmed on sets. Most of this movie takes place at night, so don't expect a beautifully colored movie. It's not that kind of movie, but when the scenes do need to pop, I do think that they definitely pop with the colors. There's a lot of shots of like green computer screens or blue computer screens, and those scenes really do pop because of the 4K, HDR10, and Dolby Vision. But then the rest of it's pretty good. There's some scenes where I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. But at the worst, I could say it was very good. So I would definitely say from a visual standpoint, if you have this release, definitely run out and grab this. If you have that Studio Canal release, There is no reason, other than the fact that actually, if I'm being completely honest, that Studio Canal release actually has a way better slipcover that I wish I had. But not that this is a bad one, but in comparison, I would have preferred to have that slipcover. So in closing, guys, if you're a fan of Escape from New York and you have a very old Blu-ray, I could definitely highly recommend this edition. I would probably give this edition an 8 out of 10. It is a pretty good package. It is the collector's edition. It has 3 discs. You're going to get plenty of special features. So for fans of Escape from New York or just fans of John Carpenter looking to add another 4K to your 4K collection, I definitely say run out and grab this. We've been lucky and fortunate enough to get a lot of John Carpenter movies on 4K, and this is one that I was super excited to add to my collection. And if you're a John Carpenter fan and you don't have that Studio Canal release from 2018, make sure you run out and grab this. And guys, like I said earlier, if you're a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, or gaming reviews, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and you tell all your friends.